Okay, people, it's the next day. I don't know, October 27th or something like that. But this is pathetic. No money, people. I'm telling you. My youngest daughter's wisdom teeth is busting through and cutting up her freaking mouth. Like really, really bad. Right? My head feels like it's between a vice and being crushed or being stepped on when I'm sleeping. Right? Constant ringing in my ears. Constant tooth pain in my mouth, right? Going blind. I don't know what the hell this eye doctor did the last time I was there, but she gets her technicians, right, to put an eye drop in and they look and they test to see if your pressure is down. I don't know. She put a half a fucking bottle in my freaking eyes and then apparently the pressure went down. Well, yeah, if you're going to put a half a bottle of that freezing agent in your eyes, obviously your eyes are going to go boing, do something. And then the doctor was all excited and say, oh, the pressure's down. Let me check your eyes. So she puts another half a bottle of that crap in my eyes to freeze my eyes so they can check my pressure. Apparently my pressure was down for the one day. It doesn't feel like it today, though, and it hasn't felt like it since then. Because I can feel it, people. And I'm walking to the car with Andre after I leave the doctor's office. I'm going to go talk to him about this. I'm going to ask him what the hell green fluorescent shit that they're putting in my freaking eyes, a half a bottle at a time. Because by the time I got to my car, which was about 5 blocks away, because the city of Surrey has made no parking, and there's absolutely no parking anywhere unless you have a credit card and you can pay, right? Because they moved in their city hall. So you got to pay for parking. So I have to park 5 blocks away just to go to the eye doctor. So by the time I get to the eye doctor, I spit out these 2 huge, big gobs of fluorescent green guck that flushed out from my eyes and went into my nasal passage. So anyway, that's your health care. So, like, I'm not meeting the bills. Right? I'm barely scraping by on the rent. My middle daughter's not working. She's supposed to go to school in January, but we're fighting all the time, so she's moving out as soon as she gets her student loan. My middle son has a cheaper place to go, but he doesn't want to abandon me. So he's like frustrated because he's got no money. And of course, I'm feeding everybody, right? Because nobody's got no fucking money, people. Right? Well, my landlord hasn't fixed the washing machine downstairs yet, hasn't fixed the dryer downstairs yet, telling me, well, if the hydro blows out on the breaker box, oh well, you know, stop using your computer. You don't like it, you can move. Like, what is wrong with people? Like, honest to God, like, why do they want homeless people, broken people, sick people, dead people? Why do people with money want the rest of the people with no money to be dead? Because that's what it boils down to. My son left here, the house, left his boots, left his hat, left everything behind, left his clothes. And I'm talking to my younger son saying, well, what do you think happened? And we both agree, we think he went off to go die somewhere. Just die. Well, my middle daughter, or oldest daughter, well, we know what's happening with that one. It's just a matter of time. Okay, so no matter what's going on here, at least we have some food, people. Right? What is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 bags.
Yeah.
For soup.
You talked about the...
Okay, people, back onto the bottom of the drum bag here. I'm going to put this camera on myself briefly. But before I do that, I just want to point out what I'm doing. I'm just trying to use up some of this fabric, people. And obviously protect the drums, right? And make it so that it's easier to carry at one time. You know? I think once it's done, as long as those straps hold up, it should be fine. And this bag will serve its purpose. And then, because I have this fabric, we're going slow, which I used on the bottom of the bag, similar, bought years and 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 years ago, or maybe even quite possibly found it at a spring cleanup in Delta at one point. Who knows? Because you can find fabric sometimes, right? I'm going to make
I'm going to make a quick one, right? Drum bag for that drum. Where is it? There it is. It shouldn't be that difficult. Hold on. Okay, I haven't done this for a while. I've been outside cutting those pine needles for the last, 4 or 5 days now. I'm starting to put the buckets in Mr. Lace's pen to protect it from the rain because I'm not using it all at one time, right? I've started using it. Anyway, I want to address what I was trying to express about the way our society is thinking these days and how we treat people. If they die, they die. I was having a conversation with my younger son the other day. I think it was yesterday, the day before. And we were talking about my older son, asking each other what we thought happened to him when he left this place. Because he left his boots behind, his work boots. He left his hat. He left his jackets for safety gear, with the bright colors. He left his rings. He left his chain. He left the majority, if not all, his clothes behind. All he took was his backpack and his computer and what was in his backpack. And that was it. He left everything else behind. And you've seen, if you've been watching these videos, where he was before he left. Because that's what happened. He was on the stairs. I wouldn't let him in the house. I told him, that's it. I don't want to put a restraining order against you. But I can't live with this situation the way it is. And you're not willing to quit drinking. And that's just the way it is, right? And believe me, people, it was extremely hard to do that. I don't know. I'm doing a video. Who is that? Me. Okay, don't interrupt me here, okay? Because I haven't done one of these ones for a while. In front of the camera, that is. I've been running around with the camera, but I haven't been in front of the camera. Now, I've been crying today, so I'm starting to cry now, right? Because I'm talking about my son. And I'm talking about my son with my younger son, and we're wondering what's happening to my son, to my older son. Did he go off somewhere to just die? Is that what happened? Is he going to start fresh? Because when he showed up here, he was sick. And he knew he was sick. To what degree of sickness, I don't know, and I don't think he knows. He just knew that he wasn't feeling well. Right? And he had been drinking for several years. He started when, and this is what we were discussing with I was discussing with my youngest son. What spurred it? What spurred the drinking? The initial stages of drinking, because he didn't start drinking until he was 20. Right? 20, 21 or something like that. He used to play football. He was quite the health freak. Right? But after we lost our house in 2003, we all got stuffed into that shanty shack. Me, personally, I feel that was the beginning of a nervous breakdown. Because he was just transferring from one school into another school to play football. And then he lost his home and his room and his stability, and he never did complete high school. And then he turned of age very quickly within that time period, and he wasn't able enough to go off and just go get a job and grow up immediately. He was still dependent, right? But we were in this shanty shack. with all these issues. And he didn't qualify for welfare because BC Liberal government, that's when they initially brought in the you have to be off of American welfare reform. It's right there in legislation under the American welfare reform. Clinton brought it over and gave it to Gordon Campbell. That's what happened. And Gordon Campbell was the first one in all of Canada to try and implement it into this province. So you turned 19, didn't matter how rich or how poor your parents were, you didn't qualify for welfare for at least 2 years of being independent. So he lived at home in the shanty shack for well over 6 months. I don't remember correctly. I was there for 3.5 years. I think it was almost a year, maybe more. And then eventually he got into like movie acting and all that other stuff, but that's when he started drinking. So by that time he was going into his 20s, living in a sardine can, right? With the rest of his family. And I don't know how the drinking progressed, but it did. To the point where he's now 31 and quite possibly dead. I can't say it any other way because both my younger son and myself think that that's probably what happened, or could happen, could likely happen. Because there's no way that he could defend himself, right, in terms of like, housing himself adequately, because what's happening in Richmond from where he came from is the people that rent out rooms have discovered that they can rent them out at $35 a night. $35 a night, like a hotel room. So what costed $400 2 years ago is now costing $1,200 to $1,500, right? Because he was on his own for 6 years. How well he was doing, I don't think he was flourishing as much as a mother would want him to flourish, but he definitely was holding it together to the best of his ability. But by the time he showed up here, of course I'm maxed out. I'm maxed out with what's been going on in my life. It wasn't easy coping with my oldest daughter, right? And having to go through those feelings and the loss of her, because it's a loss. You're losing your children. Children aren't supposed to die before the parents. I mean, I'm not the first parent to say that. But that's what's happening in today's society because we don't look after the sick. And if we do, there has to be a monetary value in there where it's economical for the caregiver to bother with looking after somebody. If they're not gaining anything from it, they don't want to look after people. Kumar, I will always forever, with my last breath, think of Kumar. Comes to Canada. His brother says, come, right? So he comes to Canada. He goes to work. He saves himself $20,000, whatever he does, right? He's a single guy. He has no family other than his brother. And the next thing you know he gets robbed, right? And I don't know why the brother just decided whatever. And what, because Kumar likes to drink a little bit of beer? There's worse things in life than drinking beer. And then he ends up out on the street, and nobody is there to help him outside of the small, you got a few shadow workers out there under the BC Liberal government, and then you've got the ground zero trench workers that are overwhelmed with the situation, because we all know that over there is an emergency ward, not a shelter. It's an emergency ward. But Kumar is not getting the help that he needs versus, say, someone like John that has a good pension plan. And it's systemic like that all the way through. So in the meantime, because my kids are poor, they're falling through the cracks. And I'm watching them die. And I'm wondering here, with my younger son, if my older son is going to drink, because he's drinking 3 days, waking up drunk. It's in his blood. We know people can get alcohol poisoning. Right? It passes out in the freaking bush and dies. Who's going to be there to find him? We're waiting for the cops to show up and let us know. You know how many times I've been through that with my daughter? And now I'm going through it with my son. In the meantime, I get ring, ring, ring. Now I know the troll that's trolling my videos is going to love this one. I get a ring, ring, ring. Hello? Hello? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, really? Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. In other words, the Ministry of Children and Family Development called me up and wanted to discuss my drunk son that somebody on YouTube phoned and reported on. And the fact that my daughter was downstairs sleeping on the couch, right, with her sisters down there. So they come. We're talking. I tell them the story of the nonprofit. It's not like they didn't know. But I get a little more into detail with it, right? Because there's a new lady on the scene. This is all history of the nonprofit, people. You know, and what happened to John, and that when I put those videos up with my son, right, it's to show the sincere viewer, not the troublemaker, not the dissenter, not the co-op, right, or whatever they call these people, black ops, psych ops or whatever, right, not those ones, but the ones that are human, you know, that are human and have human problems, because that's what it boils down to, human problems, right? In the event of, if this nonprofit does what it's supposed to do long term, which means well after I'm dead, people, because I don't plan on living forever. I will one day die. It's what I leave behind that counts. That's why I did what I did, because I was trying to leave something behind that could make a difference for other people and their children or loved ones, because not everybody has kids, but they love somebody. And they go through these tough decisions that tear your heart apart. And they go through these terrible situations that destroy families and destroy households. Well, some people get away with the garbage that they perpetrate in this society for a profit, even if it means destroying their own brother to get that profit. I didn't get no profit by asking my son to leave. What I did is I had to weigh something. I had to weigh it, I had to balance. I had to find the balance in there. Ask myself the question. If John would have been like that, would John have been in my life? That's easy. No. If my lover would have been like that, would I have stayed with him for 25 years and been an abusive wife? Easy to answer. No. I said to my younger son, so then what is the problem with it being my son? Why do I struggle with that decision, whereas if it was somebody else, it wouldn't be a struggle any more than it would be with my daughter? Is it because I'm the mother and I birthed? Because that's what it boils down to. I birthed these children of mine. Even though they're adults, they're still mine. Right? And as a mother, you birth them out to do well in life. You don't want them to suffer. Right? You don't. Not if you're a real mother. You don't birth them to suffer. Right? In the heart, that is. So you're protecting them all the time, trying to protect them for whatever reason. And it's a struggle, right? And you beat yourself up over it. Because at the end of the day, you know, my son is 31 years old. And I have a responsibility to Andre and the rest of my family. It's not just Andre. It's the rest of my kids that are here now doing the things that they're doing in terms of going to school and that type of thing. And also, too, you know, I'm last on the list. In other words, you know, do I want to live my life for 5 years? We'll just use 5 years as an example, trying to correct my son's problems because I'm trying to save him, right? People do it all the time. People do it all the time. They love their children. They will sacrifice their own comfort to accommodate their children's illnesses in the hope that their children will get better, right? But the thing is, there's not enough services in our community to help these children, adult children, to get better. And that's why the numbers are compounding and there's more and more. Because if you notice, there's more and more sickness in our community. Why is that? We live in a rich country, both in the United States and in Canada, right? So why do we have more and more sick people? People with their teeth rotten. People with their teeth like me that need root canals that aren't getting done, right? Or just getting pulled out and that's all they get. It's just pulled out rotten teeth. Because we got a lot of that these days, right? Or just general health care where it's not being addressed in a timely manner. So people are getting sicker. Why is there more drugs in our community that is making the young people sick? Because when I was young, it wasn't like that. And there was a lot of people around. I lived in a city, a big city, right? So what is it from 35 years ago, 40 years ago? I'm 53, so we'll take it back, 45 years ago, you know, 40 years ago, 40, 37, 35 years ago. Why is there more drugs in our community today than there was 35 years ago? And why are more young people getting sick and dying young? Because that's what's happening. My daughter is dying young. My son is dying young. Right? Well, I have very vindictive, vicious, malicious, mischievous, dishonest individuals watching this video right now, wanting to hear about MCFD. What happened? What happened? Did they take Andre away? Well, I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see now, won't we? Right? Because what did it accomplish? Right? It's not illegal to drink in our country. People have Thanksgiving dinners and Christmas and cops are always going to parties with kids running around and people fighting over the shit. Booze, that is. No? Wait till Christmas time, New Year's Eve. There'll be lots of house parties. Right? So what's the difference between people drinking in those houses and getting into arguments where the cops have to show up and these little children, you know, hiding out in the bedroom or whatever it is, compared to my sick son coming home saying, Mom, help me. I know I need some help, but I don't really know how to ask for the help because I'm a man. I'm not supposed to ask for help. Right? Because he said, Mom, I know I'm not myself. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mom, I'm not myself. So that even makes it harder for me to say you can't be here. Because I know what's out there. Right? Oh, well, he has to want to do it for himself. I'm sorry, people, you're dealing with sick people. If you have them, help him. Right? And I'm not saying force help them, but give them more than what you're giving them, that's for sure. Because as far as I'm concerned, from what I've seen my children being given, it's all a lot of lip service. Right? So I'm crying, all the time now, right? Because I'm crying for the death of my son, because I feel like he's died, or if he hasn't died, he's probably going to die, because there's no one there to help him. He doesn't trust the healthcare system any more than I necessarily trust the healthcare system, because it's not geared for us. We're not the ones that get pampered. We're at the bottom end of the two-tiered healthcare system in British Columbia, Canada. Okay? Back in the day in 1999, when I started this nonprofit, I felt like an equal within the healthcare system. And we were being governed by the NDP. Does that mean that the NDP is a good party in terms of everything that its policies we're involved with? You know what? I'm not a politician. I'm not going to say yes and I'm not going to say no, but common sense tells me, there's a fine line. There was some things that they probably could have done better on and they didn't, but there was other things that they did very well on, and universal health care was one of them. They were much more successful at it than what this BC Liberal government is doing. Because fast forward 1999 to 2000 and almost 16, how many years is that, people? 16 years? And now we got young people dying like left, right, and center out here. Because it's not just my kids. There's other people's kids out there suffering the same kind of stuff. You can go back into my videos and you can see some of those kids. So, but at the end of the day, if I wanted to live my life with an alcoholic, I'm sure I could have found plenty of them. And that's what I reminded my son. You didn't grow up like that, so don't expect Andre to grow up like that, sick or not. Sick or not. And it's not like he didn't have the choice to straighten himself up a little bit and try and patch up his differences with his siblings downstairs, because downstairs is a totally different independent suite. Yep, totally. There's no inside stairs, people, so if he could have controlled his drinking, right? I'm sure his brother and his sisters would have compensated for that and allowed him to stay downstairs, even if he couldn't have stayed upstairs, which he couldn't have, because I need to get my own life in order. I finally have some time. Well, I don't have a lot of time, but I've got some more time to try and build a life before I'm dead. Because I'm sorry, looking after a blind man for 23 years wasn't no easy feat, okay? It took up a lot of time. I didn't realize how much time it took up until after I got some little more time for myself. Now that I got some time for myself, I'm starting to realize how much time I actually invested into Uncle John. And it wasn't that I invested it into Uncle John. We invested it into a house. And I'm right now at this point in life trying to hold this house together. And I'm having a very difficult time. Because not only am I having to ask my sick children to leave, right? Knowing that they're not going to get the proper healthcare system out there. If anything, chances are they're probably going to die. Right? Well, I got social workers calling me up saying so and so on, but we're not going to tell you who. We're just going to say YouTube. Is concerned about Andre because you've got your son up on video. And I'm like, well, I was waiting for you to show up. And, right? Don't treat me like I'm unique, because I'm not. This is systemic all across the freaking province. And I can appreciate your position as a social worker. I told him this. When there's like some serious drinking in the house. The mother's drinking, the father's drinking, aunts and uncles, everybody's drinking. Because my family were alcoholics. My uncles, 2 uncles, and my mother, and my grandfather. And my aunt, not so much, but she went little bonkers. Anyway, so she had twins, and she ended up actually losing her kids. So, and she was a chartered accountant. But my uncles and my grandfather and my mother were all alcoholics. Only thing is, they didn't fight. when they used to get drunk at Christmas time, they'd all crack jokes. So that's how I grew up, with everybody cracking jokes. Right? But in some households, that's not the way it works. Everybody's scrapping. Right? By the end of the night, everybody's scrapping and the cops have a busy night. Well, so anyway, I'm very, very worried about my son. Yeah. There was something else I was going to say. I don't remember what it is now. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, kick out my daughter, kick out my son. My middle daughter lost her job, right? So she hasn't been working. She borrowed money to me on her visa, but she's in school and she's supposed to go to college in January. But she might be failing math, but she has no income, so she's not paying the rent. And because I borrowed money from her, she thinks she can just take that and, well, you owe me, so I don't have to pay rent this month or next month. And I'm like, do you realize that means I can't pay bills? Like, I can't pay my visa bill, 2 visas. Like, it's getting pretty dire around here. And oh yeah, I got this troll. Well, you're living in a fantasy. You're out of touch reality. Some people like you and some people don't. Well, you know what? When you get this far into the game with nonprofit, you get to the point where you don't give a shit. Like, seriously. Like, I am looking so forward to passing over the books. Like, you can't imagine how happy I will be on that day when I take the briefcase. Because I'm putting it in a briefcase, people. And I'm going to go, here, sir, good luck. You have my blessings. Yep. So I just blocked that person. Because they don't pay no member dues. They don't contribute nothing to the nonprofit. Except a sour-ass, pissy attitude. So, I am going to finish this drum bag. I'm cutting the pine needles. And I got this, I don't know what kind of saw it is, but sooner or later, if I can't get my landlord to come to the house with the chainsaw and do it for me, I'm going to plead with him to do that. Hopefully he will, because it would be so much faster and easier. Because I want the logs, right? Then I got this other saw that I can do by hand. It will just take a little longer. It would be fun with Andre, so maybe we'll do a couple first. We'll see. We'll see how hard it is, right? Because it would be good for Andre. And be a little lumberjack, right? And then I'm going to finish this up. Finish getting that tree. I got some kale leaves that need to be harvested. So I got to work on that. I'm going to try and fast, right? Make another little drum bag here with this one to protect this drum. Andre needs some clothes because I can't afford to buy them. I have my old patterns around here, but I don't know. Things, you see what my room looks like. This isn't even a real sewing room. But I've got some other patterns kicking around that I can whip up a few things for him just so that he has some more better winter clothes because he's starting to outgrow some of his stuff, right? And again, no money to buy anything. So, very little anyway. And it's getting pretty dire around here. But I'm utilizing what I have access to. And just trying to, not give up, right? That's the secret. You don't give up, okay? Just remember that. And if my son is watching this, because I know he watches my videos, I want him to know that I love him and I'm very sorry. Like, you don't know how sorry I'm feeling. I don't know, well, the connection is he's my son, right? And I want him to get better. I don't want him to die, right? And I'm sorry that I can't be there to help him through this rough patch. Right? And the same is true for my daughter. I'm really worried for my daughter because she can hardly breathe. Right? I don't think she'll last 10 years with her lungs. And she's not going to be placed on some lung transplant list. She's not the priority. Right? So, anyway, we'll go back on this drum bag. Okay, as you can see, you draw a line where you think you're going to sew your straps with some chalk. Right? Because you're going to have to take out the pin. And before you sew it, you're going to have to open up your bag. And you're going to have to make sure that the fabric's not all puckered in there. Do you see that? So you got to realign your edges. Take out your pin. Flatten this out. Maybe pin around it. And then flip it over. And then realign your strap. But before I do that, I just want to do a shout out to the lady that gave me $20 today out by the HSBC bank. I went to the bank today, people, for the nonprofit, just to keep those accounts open so that our new treasurer doesn't have to deal with those 12 trust accounts connected to HSBC. 9 are still dormant, but that will be reactivated when the time is right. For now, we can just suffice with the 12. And I put $2 into each account just 6 months after April to keep it active. Because again, you're dealing with a system, right? The system will shut down those accounts before the people will. So that was the purpose of doing those $2 deposits. But at the same time, I've got, I know that's boring. At the same time, I've got my middle daughter, like I said, not working, trying to go to school, right, to get her biology and math so that she can start a nursing course. But at the same time, I owe her $1,000, and because she can't afford to pay rent because she has no money herself and her credit card is maxed out and it needs a payment, right? She's saying, well, I ain't paying no rent, but yet she's eating the food, and this is what I'm reminding her. And because we argue, right, she's moving out as soon as she gets her student loan, and I'm like, great, you're not paying rent, you're eating all the food, right, so that when you do leave, I've got no food. Well, I'll have some food, but I won't have as much food in the house, because not only is she feeding herself, but she's also feeding her boyfriend, but she's not covered for medical, so she's hitting me up for money for her prescriptions. So not only am I not getting rent and she's eating the food, but I'm also having to pay for her prescriptions, 2 of them, one for antibiotic and one for birth control. So I'm at the bank, right? And I'm like crying by the time I get to the car because I don't have any money, people. Like, I got to pay my visa. If I don't pay my own visa, I just got my interest down back to 13.99%. It jumped up to 19.99% after they took John because I couldn't make the payments on time. And I got it back down. Well, no, actually, before they took John, the payments were because the visa had kicked out when Andre was taken from the house. So anyway, I got it back down, and now I'm back down to 13.99%, and I don't even have enough money to pay my visa. I have the rent, but I don't have the money to pay the visa. Well, my daughter's eating all the food and saying, well, can I have some money for medicine? Because I need medicine. But yet she's moving out the minute she gets her student loan because she thinks she's going to have better life living someplace else after the fact, right? So I'm crying. Anyway, shout out to that lady who gave me the $20. I did give it to my daughter. If I know I didn't give you any information on my nonprofit, so you wouldn't know who I am driving that old beat-up Oldsmobile outside the HSBC bank. Right? But if for some reason you come across my videos because you live in Surrey and you Google Surrey and you come across my videos and you remember me, she told me I can really tell that you love your grandson. She could tell I was very upset because I am. I'm very upset.
You know, I'm losing my children, lost my dad, stepdad, right? You know, on the verge of losing my house. And it's relentless. Like, it's relentless. So anyway, shout out to that lady. I did give that my daughter that $20 and I gave her an extra 20. So she had enough to get 1 month's supply of birth control and her antibiotic. Yeah. So that's what you do. You take that out, you flatten everything out, you put your pins in there, and then you line your strap up with that line that you drew with chalk, and you sew it. Okay, so this is the last little piece here, I think, in terms of this video, just only because I was talking. You can see it's flat. It's already been sewn on. So again, same idea. Pin it so it's flat in there so you can see that the fabric is not puckered. I forgot to put the little bias tape on there, so I'm going to put that on now. And then I'm just line it up with that line on the other side and sew it, right? Give it a couple of zigzags along the way. Can you see that? Because it's the strap. Probably could even maybe use one more, but for now that's good enough. Hold on.